This is a video to back up some of the information I provided in an article called Chasing Perfection on Civil Sites. Now, this job was done by one of our engineers, Chad Lawson, and Chad just does some amazing stuff. He works in Carlson, and what I like to do is, whichever engineer did these jobs and I'm doing a video or training on it, I like to use the format they built it in just so I can go over some of the things that they do in that program that might not translate well to another. I use both Carlson on top of Civil 3D as well as Business Center. Both are good softwares, both do a good job. A lot of our engineers sort of focus on just one and get real good at it, and I kind of make sure that I'm kind of fluid in both of them so I can help them with questions and problems when they have them. Now, this is a decent sized civil site. It's actually pretty huge, and what I want to do is just take a look at this parking area and give you the genesis of how we build these things so you get an idea of what it takes to put these together. Now, in the article, I talked about build it like the picture and then make things work well. This is a perfect example. Let me kind of knock out the parking stripes to kind of give you a little bit better idea, and then I'll just bring in the information for their surface. You'll see the drainage here, all these storm rims. So a lot of sites will push water out to extremities, and this one, what we're doing is we're taking water and we're putting it in these basins that are going to collect water on the perimeter of the job, and you'll see that these implement a forebay and then looks like a weir of some sort, and then we're going into a sediment basin. So these things are doing a lot of work, and this is in a state where there's some decent rainfall, so they're going to do a job. Now let me get open up Layer Manager and let me get to the layer state that I did, and just kind of go over some of the stuff. Let me get rid of a few of these things here so you can better see what's going on. Now, the build it like the picture thing kind of shows you what happens here to start with, where they drew some of these great contour lines and they want them to connect together, but what happens is as you build a surface out of these things, you get some issues, and I'll kind of point them out here, and then we'll kind of do a 3D view. You can see, now remember, all these triangles are flat, so there is a flat triangle here, and the problem is that a lot of these extend around those contours and give you a flat spot that doesn't exactly warp into the drain area. So this square here is a contour, and then we come here and we get some flat spots that aren't going to really make this thing perform well. This is a flat spot here, so the breakover is more extreme here than it is here. So let's kind of look and see what that surface does, and kind of go over why it's not working well. Let me go in here. Now, what I'll do in this one is I'm going to kind of pump this up to a vertical exaggeration of 10 because we're going to mess around in the parking lot areas, and I want you to kind of see what's going on. So here is that example. We have a rim where we actually took and dropped that elevation solid, and that's a flat area there. And again, these triangles are flat. So if you see this, what happens is this is all the elevation of that contour around the perimeter, and this breakover angle here is more extreme than this one because the distance, the elevation from here to here is known, and same with here to this corner, but guess what? It's intercepted by that elevation earlier than it should be. So things don't kind of look right, and I'll see if I can kind of get this up, and you can see the flat spot right there. It's not going to perform well, and that's going to give us issues. So what do we do to fix those, and how do we make them work? Well, let me take you through the couple steps that Chad used on this project to kind of clean things up. Let's see. I'm going to throw grade breaks first. No, let's do that next. Let's do some break lines first. Okay, so a lot of these break lines aren't connected to stuff that you'll see later in the grade breaks, but these start to kind of connect some of the dots. And where these can kind of make sense to you is when we hit a curved area where you really want uh, the water to flow and you want a good looking retention or a slope to a retention, this is a great way to bring those in. Now let me bring in some more grade break lines that he put in, and you'll be able to see some of these a little bit better. There we go. So now these are the 3D break lines that were put in to really start to tighten this thing up and make things kind of make sense, if you will. And again, I talk about all sorts of things. The blade, how the blade performs, how the surface breakovers have to work, how things smooth out. So let's take a look at this surface and see the difference in this and the other one. So let's open this up, and there we go. And let's vertically exaggerate this to 10 and come up. Not that good. And take a look at some of these where we start to pull those elevations in, and you'll see that they start to make a little bit more sense. Now this parking lot is a little bit more basic, so we'll kind of come there first. And now you'll see a smooth transition and a decent breakover where I want to see a nice slope towards the center. Now remember, this is exaggerated vertically by 10, so it's pretty radical. If I turn on the contour, as I talked about in the article, if I put the contours at a tenth of a foot, we start to get a better idea of how this job looks, and you'll see how clean everything is and how nice those contours are and how good the slopes are. If you can generate stuff like this, then that's what you're after. And that kind of is what we're paid to do, is to make these things work well, perform nicely, and also understand that when we convert this from a pretty picture on the screen to dirt on the ground, that all the pieces kind of fit together. As usual, if you've got any questions or comments, I'm always more than happy to hear them. I do appreciate your time. Thanks, and have a good day.